It is August 15th, 2018, time for another project update. It's been a pretty active month. There are a few things here I want to go over. One of the most important big improvements is this revelation that we can now run Docker in Docker. So for those who aren't very familiar with Docker, Docker is a virtual machine. It's actually a scripting language for creating virtual machines, and it's been wildly successful. And but the sort of and the way the P2P VPS client works is that it sandboxes a renter inside of a Docker container, and that way the renter can use the computer's resources without being able to attack the base operating system. And that means the sandbox they're trapped in can be easily, like a virtual machine, it can be easily destroyed and recreated, so that it's fresh and new, and there's nothing left over for the next renter. And so there's been sort of this holy grail quest for the last few months to figure out if it's possible to run Docker in Docker, because that would allow renters to run any arbitrary Docker container inside their rented machine. And that's very desirable because the whole world is being Dockerized right now. Like every major piece of software, and including minor pieces of software, just about everything on the internet that calls itself an app or software has a Docker container now. I mean, I'm very confident that it is the future, running Docker containers and orchestrating sets of Docker containers. So being able to run Docker in Docker is a huge revolution. So the client is going to get this change. It does not have it now, but hopefully soon it will be getting this change. So right now, the behavior that exists now in the client software will be the default behavior. But when at checkout time, when you check out let me just show you kind of what that looks like. When you place an order, you'll be able to put in some notes here, like a piece of JSON, and tell it, okay, load this Docker container, and it can go to Docker Hub and download the container and run it, and then that is running and on the rented device. So it's kind of a big deal, and so I just wanted to point that out. If this is something that piques your interest and you want to know more about it, or you want to participate in developing this feature, let me show you where to go. That you can go to chat.p2pvps.net. That's our official chat room. Way you can get in there is to go to p2pvps.org, go to this community navigation, and go to official chat, and that'll take you there. And then we discuss Docker in the Docker channel. And this is where my quick notes on the tests I've done live. So if you want to see what I figured out thus far, this is where it lives. This is where you can go. And this is the chat room where you can join us and discuss this idea. Oops. Go back to this. So that's a pretty big discovery, being able to run arbitrary Docker containers within a Docker container. And I think it's going to have a big impact on the practicality of this idea of P2P VPS. So that's that. On the last month's update, I talked about some of the changes happening to the rented device view. There's been some progress on there. I want to show you what it looks like, both in the user interface for renewals and payments. So just real quick, here is an example of a completed order. In fact, of ordering in OpenBazaar. This is the OpenBazaar app. I'm actually going to click this button to complete the order. And there's this new field here called dash ID. And so the idea is you copy this dash ID key, and then you can go log into p2pvps.net, or whoever's running a server, go to this rented devices view and click add new rental, and then you paste in that dash ID. So this dash ID right here, I just copied and pasted it here, and now this information that comes along is populated here, so I don't have to, because once you're done with this and you go back, this is what it looks like. If you rent a lot of devices, this is not a very good user interface in terms of trying to like locate which VPS you're renting and trying to find a password for. So this is just a more convenient place to monitor and manage the VPSs that you have rented. So you know right off here, like, okay, I need to SSH into P2P VPS .net, and I need to SSH to port 6144. Here's my login. Here's my password. But the real magic in this change is this renew button. Right now, you click it, nothing happens. But if you go back to the store, clicking on that button generates this renewal listing right here. And so you can go back and purchase this renewal listing, and I'm not going to do that right now, but if you purchase it, it will renew the it'll extend the expiration date before this rental contract expires by another day. And you can do this over and over, and I've talked about this, but this is the new UI. So that's this. That's the renewals. The brand new UI is this one here. You can click on your user profile and click right here where it says BCH address, and then this turns into a text box. And what you can do is go into your OpenBazaar application and go to your wallet, click on this receive money button, and this will generate a public address for your Bitcoin Cash wallet, and then you can paste that right in there and hit enter, and then it'll save it, and it'll save it to your user profile. So this is not for renters, this is for device owners. So when the device gets rented and the rental contract expires, a small fee will get extracted for the person running the server, which is what you see here, and anybody can do that by running the server deployment software. They'll get a small fee, but the majority of the rental funds will be sent to this address. So you can see here I've got 4 devices subscribed. So if any of these get rented, when the rental contracts complete, basically once a day, the balance of that rental contract will be sent to this address. So that's one part of rentals, or of payments. The other part of payments is refunds, and that's also in place. It's sort of a buggy prototype. It's not perfect yet. What I really need now is people using it and trying it out, and that's what I'm going to do as well. And what that does is it will automatically track the person renting. I wonder if I have. So here's a renewal. Yeah, I don't have any refund tests, but basically, if you're on a flaky internet connection and the device that you're trying to rent out goes down for more than, I think, 6 minutes, or maybe it's 10 minutes, then you're considered, not keeping up your end of the bargain. And what will happen is the server will automatically delist you, prorate the amount of money that that is essentially being held for you by the server that you would have been paid if you had fulfilled the contract. Prorates it, sends a refund to the renter for services not rendered, and pays you for services rendered, or pays the device owner for services rendered. And so it just splits the difference, but that's also in place. So everybody gets paid for the resources that are used. The resources that are not used get refunded, and that's all in place, and that all automatically happens right now. And that is a big step, because I feel like that is really the final piece of the puzzle. People can finally use this. They can finally log in, either create their own servers or log into P2P VPS.net, subscribe your devices, and get paid. And you can rent devices, you can manage your rentals, you can renew your rentals, if a device owner's flaky and the device goes down, then you get a refund, so there's no risk. And then you can go to this marketplace button and easily search the devices on the network. So the basic infrastructure is really starting to come along. There's a lot of like nice things that I look forward to developing, like uptime metrics and device specification reporting. That'll be really nice to have, but it's a nice to have. It's not necessary. People can now subscribe, rent, and get paid, and that's pretty exciting because go back to power. Oh, so I just talked about refunds. Now that all this is in place, I am really looking forward to creating an ERC20 token. And I am going to create a second video discussing the reasons and the economics behind this token and how I think it's just really going to supercharge P2P VPS development and give us a way to incentivize developers. Because so far I've been pretty much carrying the torch myself. There's been one or two developers that have come in, given some great advice, but there's not really any developers committing code and submitting pull requests. And but there are a lot of issues. But I'm going to talk about that in a new video. But I'm very excited to get started on this.